Hello, I'm Will Bushy, the founder of Sioux Falls, and while I was out of town last week, all my stuff from China showed up. So I thought I would go through it real quick and see what we've got. So we've got a few boxes here, and actually a couple of these are not directly related to Sioux Falls, but they are electronics based anyway. Thought I'd open them and just show you what we've got and what I'm working on. But the big one is in this giant box right here, and this box is about 9 inches by 15 by 15, and it doesn't even come close to fitting on my desk. So let's go ahead and get this all out of the way, and we'll start going through the contents and see what's inside. I grabbed the packing list, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what's inside. All right, digital analog single conversion module, US value $130, $130. That's not what I ordered. All right, here's what I actually ordered. So when they come through China on the invoices, I think in order to get around some of the customs, they just make stuff up. And digital analog signal conversion module seems to be something that they print up a lot. So I'm not sure what that even means in general. But anyway, that's not what I ordered. This is what I ordered. So let's go through these real quick, and then I'll go ahead and open that box, and we'll take a look at the actual components. So the first thing is just the robot chassis. So these are the kits. They were $5.88 a piece. We've got the Arduino Uno board. Those were $3 a piece. And these are a little bit different from what we used in the past couple projects. Motor board shield. This is $1.18. This is going to be what controls the wheels. The Bluetooth module, that's this guy right here, $3.25. And then the breadboard, these ones here are just some extra ones that I bought. We're probably not going to end up using these. These will be for kind of some special cases if the kids want to do them, some different motor boards. And then I've got some jumper wires, and I actually had a whole bunch of those, so I just ordered a couple. Lasers, you can never have enough lasers, so I went in and ordered some more of those. Universal breadboard. These I just bought because if we want to solder stuff together, they're handy to have. And then I bought a couple extra wheels and gear motors just in case we shorted some out. We would have a few extras. So there we go. It's then about $115 in shipping, and then $525 was the total price. Now this was just for this one package. This did include some of the other kits as well, but this is definitely an expensive project that we're doing, but I think it's going to be a ton of fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at the individual things in the box. Oh boy, that's a lot of stuff. All right, so I took a handful of everything out and laid it here, and we'll go through each of them. Some of them are going to be less interesting than others. But anyway, this is only about a third of what was in that box because it couldn't all fit, obviously. But let's go through a couple of these. So these are the wheels, obviously, and these are just going to get attached on to the cars. Now, each car is going to be a two-wheeled with a caster on the front. And then for some reason in this bag, this must be the extras because I see they've got the motors in them as well. So these are the extra wheels with the little motor kits. And then these are the actual motors, and I'll go ahead and take one of these out here in a second. But you can see it's got the motors, the caster, battery pack, and then a bunch of other components in there as well. I'll cover some of the more boring parts. Here's some wires, not that exciting. Here's the Arduino Uno that we're going to be using. Like I said, this is going to be a slightly different package than what we had been using, but this is going to work out great for those motor shields. Got cables this time, Bluetooth modules. I believe in this bag here is the motor boards, but I'll take a look. And then over here in this white, which I haven't opened yet, but I believe this is the plastic chassis for the cars. So let me go ahead and clear this off, and we'll go through each of them one at a time. Let's start with the heart of the project, and that's the Arduino Uno. Now I'm using the Uno this time because I have the shields for the motor boards, and they actually fit right on top. They don't make shields for those nanos, and I didn't want to spin up a custom board just for that. This will just be a lot easier to use, and it'll just pop on, and it's pretty standard, and there's some really good drivers for them, so I'm not anticipating any problems. It does come with this little male header here, but we likely won't attach those on. But if you did want to, you can put that on here. This just snaps apart, and then you can also do some male headers. But our jumper wires are males anyway, so they fit nicely into the females. So anyway, that's the heart of the Arduino project for this Sioux Falls. One thing is it is a different plug than the old ones, so if you happen to have an old Nano that we used from a previous project, we will have different USB cables just because this is using the Type A. But anyway, not a big deal. This will work out really, really well for the kids' project. This will still get powered off of that battery pack. All right, let's see what else we got. All right, this had about 2 miles of bubble wrap around it, so I'm not sure why they felt this was needing so much protection, but these are the chassis boards. Now, these are laser cut pieces of, I'm assuming they're acrylic, although I didn't actually look. And they've got all kinds of holes and mounting points on them for our wheels, as well as attaching our Arduino or our battery pack. These right now are just all kind of shrink wrapped together. There's 20 of them. And this is going to be the chassis that gets built up from our little Bluetooth controlled car. So anyway, that's the bottom part. And then let me go grab the wheels and the motors. Next, we have the motors and the wheels and the little caster, and it comes with a nice little diagram of how to attach everything together. Not sure how helpful that's going to be. It is in Chinese, but no worries, I think we'll figure it out. So these go on that chassis that we just talked about a minute ago. There's a spot for the caster on the front, so this allows us to drive the car around without a lot of need for complicated logic for turning left and right. If you have a four-wheel car, then you've got to turn some wheels forward and some back in order to turn, but because we've got a caster, we can just turn the right wheel for it to turn left, and we can turn the left wheel for it to turn right, so it just makes things a lot easier. So this will go on the front, and then these two motor boards, these have the motors built in, and then the wheels just attach on either side depending on which wheel it is. And then these will have some screw holes here that get mounted in somehow. I forget exactly how these mount in. I think there's a little bracket in this little bag for them to mount. Now there's some other little gadgets inside this bag, and what you'll see here is this is something that you can use in order to sense where the wheel is at for using. You can shine a little laser through there and then calculate it. We probably won't be doing that. And then these are the mounting brackets, and then there's some standoffs and some screws, and then there's a switch, so you can power it on and off. Now the reason there's a switch is that this can be run from a little battery pack. This is a 4 AA battery pack, which we probably will end up using because the normal battery packs that we use will detect an overcurrent and shut off when you turn both wheels on, which is not ideal. So we'll probably end up using this little battery pack, and this will get mounted directly onto that chassis as well. So each wheel is powered independently, and we'll be able to control that through the motor board. So let's go grab those motor boards and take a look at them. Here's that motor board. Now I can't remember exactly which chip is which, but they do have 3 different chips on them, and I think 2 of them are for the motor control, and then I believe the other one is bit shift register or something like that to control it. These have the pins on the bottom, and they're supposed to connect directly to the Arduino's pins like this. Now, I was just looking at this one, and this one's substantially bent. They did a very poor job soldering that, so I'm going to have to clean that up. That's probably indicative of all of them, but not a big deal. Now, I also remember looking at these. They don't have any way to connect the Bluetooth module to the board here, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of soldering of that, and I can't remember exactly. I did look at it already and decide that I can do it. I think it's through these bottom analog pins, but I'll need to put some little headers on these before we get started. On this side here, we have access to drive 2 motors, and then this side 2 more motors. Of course, our car only has 2, and then this one here actually is a servo driver, so it'll drive a servo, and then it has this jumper right here, so this board can be powered independent of the Arduino Uno in case you wanted to run this at a higher current than your Uno itself, which is probably something we'll end up wiring up because these little motor boards do draw quite a bit of current. Now, I did notice that the little capacitors here are just hanging way up on that. I don't know why. I've never seen them that far off the board, so I'm not sure. This is probably an indication of some sloppy some sloppy work, and you can see this pin is bent here as well. So anyway, not the highest quality that you can get, but it'll work fine for our project. So anyway, that was what was in this crazy bag here full of components. All right, now let's go on to the next one. These are the rest of the components that were in that box, and I just figured I'd talk to them all at the same time. So these here we've talked about in the past. These are our laser modules. These are what you'd find inside of like a cat toy or a little laser pen. They're super, super cheap. I think these are, what were they, $1.38 for 10 of them, so 13 cents a piece. And I do know that a lot of times these wires end up coming off, so what I'll usually do is put a little piece of heat shrink on them before we use them. That way the kids don't run into any trouble. But anyway, I bought a handful of those. I thought if the kids wanted to shoot some lasers around the room on their car, they could. We could use them for other things as well, but we probably won't. These are just some little prototyping boards called perf board. I don't even know how many are in here, but I use these all the time for different projects, and they're dirt cheap to buy in bulk, so I went ahead and got some while I ordered this. This will also allow if the kids have anything they want to solder on, like if they needed some LED lights that they wanted to put on the car and they just wanted something to solder them to, these will work out perfect for that. Next are these little Bluetooth modules, and these are a little bit on the expensive side. So these are $3.25 a piece, but considering everything that they do, it's still a heck of a deal. Now these are programmable for doing a couple of different states, so I need to look to see exactly how we're going to use these. I have used them before, so I'm not really concerned about it, but I do remember I had to do something a little bit unique on each of these. So these will get probably a wire connecting onto this, and then probably plug directly into that motor board so that we can control them. Control the Arduino, which will then control the motor board and then turn the wheels. So anyway, these are those Bluetooth modules. They do support bidirectional, so they can both send data to our phone, but then also receive data like turn wheel left, turn wheel right, and so on. So anyway, that'll be a lot of fun. And these can be used for other projects as well. But for what we're doing, we're going to probably keep it pretty simple. And then lastly, this cute little bag that says, "Thank you, have a nice day." I've never seen a little shopping bag quite that small. So what these are, let me just open one up. These are those extra motor boards. Now these ones we're not going to be necessarily using, every kid's not going to use these for their projects, but I bought these because if you wanted to build something smaller and those motor boards weren't going to work, these will work fine. These can control two different motors, in our case wheels, and that's all we have is two anyway. So these are just little tiny motor boards. They're a lot smaller in size, but then also they can't quite control the same amount of current. These are really, really cheap, so I just grabbed a handful of them in case we need to use them for something. All right, that was everything that was in that giant box. Here's just a couple of the main components. So that's kind of the bulk of the expensive components. And then I bought a bunch of other things, mostly for our soldering projects, but then for a couple other projects. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and open those other packages and see what's inside. Okay, this one's from a US seller instead of from China, mostly because the China sellers were super, super slow to get some of these shipped over. And then with the coronavirus, everything was really delayed. So I just went ahead and ordered them from somebody in the US. Now, these are not directly related to the Sioux Falls project, but let's go ahead and take a quick look and I'll explain why I have them here in the first place. All right, so these are a bunch of different LED strips. Now these purple and the white ones here simulate a neon light, but they are LEDs. So I'm just going to show you real quick here. I'm not going to plug them in. They actually run off of 12 volts. But what you can see on the front here is that it's a very smooth surface. And the way they have the lights in here, I think they're like sideways facing, so it gets a real consistent look. Now you don't have a lot of individual lights that you can see. And then on the side, it's got the little markings of where you can cut these. So these can be trimmed to any size that you want, and then you can just run a wire. So these are, I have a bunch of other colors. I did not have purple and I did not have white, and I needed some, so I went ahead and ordered a couple of those. So anyway, that's what these are. These are for play that I'm working on with some other guys, and these are going to be the LEDs that are going to accent some of the props and some of the characters themselves. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to put these in, but we just need to get them ordered because we knew we're going to use them. So let's take a quick look at what's in these little silver bags. And I got two of these. Now these are RGB LEDs. Now what that means is that we can control the R, the G, and the B, the red, the green, and the blue for each of the strand of the LEDs. Now these aren't individually programmable, so I can't set each LED separately, but I can set the whole strip, either red, green, or blue, or any combination of those, so we can get all kinds of shades. Now this is just a real simple little controller that does some demo things on it, so we can just cycle through them. We're not going to use the controller. These will actually be programmed up into an Arduino, and then we'll be able to control the colors however we want as part of them. Now I didn't have any of these specific ones that were in this particular form factor. You can see they're white, they're very small, they can be cut individually along them, but then I also wanted them where we can actually control the RGB value on them. So anyway, that's what these are. These are really inexpensive. I think these were somewhere around $4 or $5 even from a US seller, but I've used them in a couple of other projects in the past, including the marching band at Roosevelt, where we had lit the band up. They were using the exact same types of LEDs. We're using some different controllers in that project. So anyway, those are the two LEDs, and I think one of those bags has some additional LEDs in it. So let's take a look at those. Here's another one that I got from the US. These, again, same story. I needed some LED lights, and I didn't want to wait for them from China, so I ordered them here. I think these are actually the same, but I just ordered them from 2 different sellers in case one of them didn't work out. So let's go ahead and open up one of these bags. Yep, they're exactly the same. They're just from a different seller, and I think they're identical in every way. These ones appear as though the LEDs are a little bit of a different style, and they appear to be a little bit closer together, but they function exactly the same. So just some slight variation on the packaging. But again, this is for that same play project. This one came from China. This one's labeled 10 pieces, 15 dips, CD4001BE. Perfect. Well, I actually did order some of those 4001BE chips. This is for our soldering project where we've got the lights like the original kit car that go back and forth, and these are those chips that we're using. Now, I can't remember if there's more than just that in this bag or not. Let's take a quick look. Now these, I did have some of these on hand, but I didn't have enough, so I went ahead and ordered some more. All that was mislabeled. I thought 4001 was wrong, but I couldn't remember exactly what the right number is. These are actually 4017. These are decade counters. And these are for that project, the soldering project with the kit-like lights. And I had a bunch of these, but I ordered some more because I didn't want to run out. So I think I ordered maybe 20 or so of those. They're just a good, fun chip to play with. And then I ordered a bunch of these. I ran out of these last time, and these are little buzzers. They're not a speaker, so we can't kind of make words or sounds out of them. They're just a buzzer like what you'd see in any type of an annoying kid's toy. But we can also change the frequency of the buzzers and how loud they are. So we can make some sounds out of them. For example, we could do a siren sound. Kids really enjoy these. They're really loud, really annoying. I actually refer to them as parent annoying devices. And for 20 extra bucks, I'll make sure your kid doesn't take these home with them at the end of the day. So anyway, I think I got one more package left. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one and see what's inside. This is the last one, and it says 200 pieces of 1 amp, 1000 volt diodes, the 1N4007. And I did order some diodes. I can't remember if I ordered anything else at the same time, but for that soldering project, we do need a whole bunch of diodes. I think each one uses 6, if I'm not mistaken. So we needed a whole bunch of these, so I ordered them. They're really inexpensive. They're probably like $2 for 200, or they might even be less than that. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Yes, there are. All right, let's take a look. These are the diodes. Actually, I ordered a bunch of things. So these are the diodes. So there's probably 200 of them. These are what allows us to use that decade counter. And I might make a video talking about that here when we're done as well. But anyway, each of the kits will use, I think, 6 of these. So I need a whole bunch of them, and I've got a few hundred on hand. These right here are the potentiometers. So these are going to be what controls how fast it goes back and forth. So each solder kit will get one of these. And then these are the screw terminals. Not 100% sure if I'm going to use these. I'm also going to use, and I put on the board, these little micro USB connectors, so you could plug it in like your phone would use a USB driver or USB cord. So I think I might use these. I can't quite decide, but if anybody wants to mount their light on the car, I thought these would be a good addition because then you could just screw the terminals on. So I got a bunch of those. I always use those for various projects, so it's good to have those on hand anyway. And then last here, these are clearly some chips. Can't remember what I ordered. Let's take a quick look. Yep, and these are actually the same chips from the other package of the 4017s, the decade counters. Now, a lot of times, because these are so cheap, so these probably cost maybe $1 or $2 for these, and it looks like there's 20 of them there. It's just not worth messing with, so if I suspect one of the packages might not make it in time, I'll just go ahead and order them from a different seller. I'll always use them in the end, and they're only a couple of dollars, so these are more of those decade counters. So anyway, that's everything that I had that showed up while I was gone. There's still a couple of packages left, but I do have everything that we need for our upcoming Sioux Falls project. So even if I don't get any more packages before our start date, we're in good shape to go ahead and get started. So a few things that I didn't mention that we will have is things like these little battery packs. I've talked about these before. Every kid will get one of these, and then that can control both their Arduino, but then anything else that they wire up, like the soldering project. And I did a separate video on that soldering project, so you can go ahead and take a look at that as well. And then the other one is just the, which is what I have right here. These I make. These are a little 3D printed tray. Each kid will get one of these. Otherwise, components just go everywhere. So this will allow us to just put the LEDs and the resistors and stuff in this little tray, and then they won't go all over the table or fall on the floor. And then lastly is the breadboard. This one already has a nano in it, but each kid will get a breadboard so that they can wire things up. And then we'll also have a whole bunch of LEDs and resistors for them to use as part of the project. So that's everything that we're going to use as part of our Hack Sioux Falls project. I've always got some extra parts on hand, so if there's something the kids really want to do, we can always make that happen. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I do have, I think, 4 or 5 tickets left before we sell that out. Head over to hacksioufalls.com and get signed up and registered today. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or go over to hacksioufalls.com and you can leave me a message there.